All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to US Golf TV, VLS Golf. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 keys to consistent contact. And so first of all, before we get rolling, this live, this is on YouTube. Hey, if you're here right now, give us a thumbs up. Can you hear us? Can you see us? How's the audio? How's the video? Are we looking good? Can you hear us? Throw that in the chat right now if you would, so that before we start diving into the content, we know everybody's here and you can hear us and our audio and all that is good. Also, we love hearing where you're from. So if you wouldn't mind throwing that in the chat, throw that in the chat of where you're from and what's all going on. And I got my main man, Nick, here behind the camera. So we're going to be locked and loaded and ready to go. As soon as we hear from everybody that we are good on the audio and good on the video, we're going to go ahead and get rolling. We got people logging in. I want to give them just a little bit, give everybody just a little bit to get going here. Okay, we're only a minute into this. We want to give some people a chance to get in. Hey, how's everybody doing? Are you getting ready for spring? It's starting to feel nice around here in the Midwest. The snow's melting. The daylight is longer. You can sense spring is coming. You can sense it. You can feel it. And so, all right, hey, here we go. We got people. We got California. Raymond, good to see you. We got Jeff from Vermont. Fantastic. Guatemala, my friend, this is fantastic. We love our people from overseas. Texas. Fantastic. All right, we got Canada. Yeah, I know it's cold. It's probably cold in Canada as well. All right, now we're going to be giving away a couple things too here. We're going to be talking a little bit about the book, The Bad Lie. Just out of curiosity, have many of you out there read it or seen it? I hope you like it. Nick and I and Jordan and JT and the team, we're working on our next book, which specifically is on short game, chipping, putting, bunkers. It's a lot of fun. We're about halfway through it, and we're really excited about that. Nick's going to give away today to anybody who's here. We're giving away a free version of our lost chapter. Once we finish the book, The Bad Lie, there was just more information we wanted to give people. We wanted to share with them. So we added a chapter. It's completely free. We don't charge for it, but Nick's going to throw that in the chat, what you did there as well. All right, look at that. We got South Africa, New Mexico, New York, Tennessee. This is the beauty of golf, is it brings people all together. All right, so let's recap. Todd Kolb, PGA instructor, director of instruction here for US Golf TV, VLS Golf. I got my main man, Nick, behind the camera. Nick, give him the thumbs up. We are locked and loaded. Today, we're talking about 3 keys to consistent contact. And of course, at the end, we're going to leave some time available for you to ask questions. So start putting those in the chat right away. What are the questions that you have that you want to hear Nick and I talk about? All right, so let's get into it. Number 1, in terms of consistent contact, is proper ball position. Now, you might think about this and think, really? Ball position? That doesn't seem very exciting. But I can tell you this, as an instructor, if somebody is struggling with contact, the first place I'm going to look at is where's the ball relative to their stance. So let's talk about a couple things. First of all, we know that when we're hitting an iron, all right, matter of fact, let me grab my wedge here. When we're hitting an iron, we know that we want to come in contact with the ball first, right? When we're hitting an iron, to have good, consistent contact, we want the club coming in contact with the golf ball and then the ground. So we want what we would call ball first contact. Ball first contact, all right? So we're going to talk about how we do that in the ball position. Now, when we're hitting a driver, we're going to talk about the driver also. How do I have good contact with the driver, all right? With the driver, we want to come in contact with the ball as the club is traveling in an upward motion. In an upward motion. So let's let that digest for just a second. All right. When we're hitting an iron, we want to be coming on a downward strike or a descending motion. When we're hitting a driver, ideally, we want an upward motion. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. You probably heard that before if you followed any of our stuff. So let's talk about the irons first. How can we find that position and where should it be? And then we're going to get into the couple other things. And I got to tell you this, the third one here, the third one that I'm going to share with you, you probably haven't heard before. They're going to be really good. So here we go. I've got an alignment rod. I think everybody should have an alignment rod. If you play golf and you're serious about getting better, I mean, the alignment rods are cheap, $4, $5, $6. I don't know what they cost, but they are very reasonable. But it's well worth it. And if you go to any tour event, you'll see everybody's got an alignment rod. So here we go. Let's talk about the ball position for the iron. I'm just going to put this alignment rod straight back from the ball as a reference point. Now with an iron, because we want to come in contact with the golf ball when the club is in a slight downward motion, we're going to position the ball like this. So the first thing we're going to do is put our feet together, and we have the ball or the alignment rod in the center of the heels. Okay. So let's say we have like a 7-iron. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a step towards the target with your lead foot, and then we're going to take a step away from the target about the same distance. Let's go through that again. Now this, I know what you're thinking to yourself. You might be thinking, this is really elementary, but I can promise you that if you don't have the ball in the right spot, you're not going to be able to have ball first contact. So here we go. Feet together. Got my alignment rod there, or you could just use a golf club. Club behind it. Take a step towards the target. Let's say I step 5 inches for sake of discussion. I step away 5 inches the same. So now the ball is going to be positioned basically kind of like off the buttons on my pullover here, or between the buttons and where the logo on my golf shirt might be. Now we're going to talk about why that proper ball position is important as we dive into the second tip I'm going to give you here in just a second. So here's what we've learned so far. And don't be afraid to throw some questions in there, all right, because we want to hear from you. We got some people from Las Cruces, New Mexico. I spent a lot of time there. Nick is laughing right now, okay, because I went to school there for 2 years. I have some very fond memories of being at NMSU. The Aggies, go Aggies, right? I have a lot of fond memories about being there. But we want ball first contact, okay, and having the ball in the right spot is the key to doing that. Now let's talk about the driver, because the driver's a little bit different. Remember in our first part of our conversation how with the driver we wanted to catch the ball on an upward motion. So we're going to go through the same process. We're going to have the alignment rod in the middle of my heels, and notice how my feet are almost literally together. Now this time I'm going to take a very small step. I'm literally just separated, maybe like an inch or so towards the target. And then I'm going to take a big step away from the target. Let me do that again. Okay, so here we go. Got the driver, mini step, maybe an inch, big step away, and that's going to position the ball more off my lead heel or kind of the inside of my lead shoulder. And that's going to help me hit more up on the golf ball. All right, so let's digest that. And we're going to get into the second thing that I promise you probably never thought about when it comes to good solid contact. With an iron, we want ball first contact, ball and then ground. So we want the ball to be positioned basically off the buttons on your shirt or somewhere between the buttons and the logo on a typical golf shirt. We do that by getting our feet together, step towards, step away, roughly the same distance. With the driver, like my MaxFert driver right here, we want to hit slightly up on the driver, okay, to maximize distance. So same process, but this time I'm going to take just a mini step, maybe like an inch towards the target and then a big step away. All right, is that making sense? Okay, if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up. Keep throwing those questions in there, and we're going to make sure we get to those here in a second. Now, number two in good consistent contact is weight shift. This is probably the one that gets overlooked the most. All right, so here's what I want to show you, is that the bottom of the swing, okay, and those of you who are followers of Nick and Jordan and Justin and myself here at VLS Golf, you know some of this stuff. A lot of this is review for you, okay? But you know already that the bottom of the swing, where the club hits the ground, boom, okay? Let me back up here a little bit. I'm making Nick work this morning, huh? What do you guys think about that? We're making him work. He's got to adjust the cameras, respond to the chat. He's earning his hourly pay here today. So where my weight is at on my feet can have a huge impact on where the club hits the ground. So watch what happens when I shift my weight towards my back foot through the strike. So notice it's in the center, okay, but I start shifting back. Notice where the club starts hitting the ground. See how it starts hitting back here? All right. Now if I start going forward, where do I start hitting the ground? More forward or in front of the golf ball, right? So we know that we want ball first contact with an iron. So what we've got to make sure is that at impact, we've got to get our weight into our front foot. Okay, you look at any great iron player, at impact, their weight is definitely into their front foot. Now, how much can vary a little bit based on the coaching philosophy and flexibility and things like that. But there's no question about it. The vast majority of the weight is on the front foot. So how do we do this? Well, let me share with you a couple things and a drill that you can do to help with this, all right? So the first thing is that you know, like in the book, The Bad Lie, we lay it all out, the vertical line swing system, one of the cornerstones of the system is the 60-40, right? 60-40. You know this. All right. You know this. All right. You've heard it. All right. So what do we mean by that? What we mean is that when we're set in here, we always start with about 60% of our weight on our lead foot, weight or pressure, whatever word you want to use, right? Okay. And then early in the backswing, we shift that weight to the trail foot. Okay. And it's this shifting of weight from front to trail. Okay. That actually, not to give it away, but next week, we're going to talk about the 3 power sources or club head speed sources. Well, that's what Nick and I are going to talk about next week, is the 3 ways you can create more club head speed. I don't want to give away the secret. Okay. But what I'm talking about right here, you're probably going to hear next week if you tune in. So I start 60, 40, and I move that very quickly. So now as I start my backswing, by the time my lead arm is, maybe parallel to the ground, I probably got 70, 80% of my weight on my lead foot. And by the time I get to impact, I've probably got 80% of my weight on my front foot. So I've gone from 60, 40 to start. Boom, I work towards the trail. And then at impact, okay, I'm on my lead foot. Now, how much you practice that? Maybe think, okay, it makes sense from a concept standpoint, Todd, but how do I practice that? Well, a couple ways. It's real simple. Number one is you can just make practice swings where, all right, you take your regular setup, bring your lead foot back to your trail foot, backswing, and then just step forward. Okay, so here we go. Let me do it again. Regular setup, bring my lead foot back to my trail, backswing, and step forward. That movement, that stepping, will help get your weight going forward and is an easy way for you to practice that. All right, so that's number 2, is proper weight shift. Understand the lesson to take away from number 2 is that the bottom of your swing, or where the club hits the ground, can have a huge impact on the weight shift. The weight shift can have a huge impact on where the club hits the ground, and we want that weight to be forward, all right, on that strike. Now, number 3, and really, quite honestly, is why we wrote the book. All right, The Bad Lie. Didn't Nick put that chapter? Did Nick put it in there? Did you put that? Okay, he's giving me the nod. He's giving me the nod. All right, put the free link to the lost chapter, or you can get the book too on Amazon or whatever. Did you put that in there too, Nick? All right, okay, there he is. I'm making him work. The third one is lead arm direction. The direction of your lead arm. All right, and for those of you who are experienced golfers out there, if you're not afraid to share it, just put it in the chat. How experienced are you? 54 years of experience right here, my friends. 54 years and feeling young and like my best golf is ahead of me. Throw it in the chat if you're not afraid. How many years of experience do you have with this game? All right. So, but the lead arm direction can have a huge impact on contact and how well you play the golf. That's why we came up with the whole system. Vertical line swing, VLS system. Now, when you swing the golf club, all right, the more your lead arm works around your body, okay, the more the bottom of the swing works backwards, okay? So if I swing my lead arm really flat and around, which is not necessarily a bad position, a lot of people teach that. You know our philosophies. We know there's a lot of ways to play this game. But if the lead arm is really low and around, you're going to be prone to hitting back and behind the golf ball unless you have a ton of rotation. The more the lead arm works back and up, see the difference? Okay, around versus up. The more your lead arm works up, the more the club and the bottom of the swing, moves forward. So from face on, here we go. Low and around. Club will tend to hit back here if I don't make any adjustments. More straight back and up. Okay, the more the swing will work this way. So when it comes to irons, we want to hit the ball and then the ground first. Okay, so what do we got to be aware of? We got to be aware of ball position. It seems elementary, but I can promise you this. I'm working with tour pros to beginners. Tour pros work on fundamentals, ball position, grip, stance width, aim, stuff that's not boring, but it works. Get the ball in the right spot. For an iron, you want it more in the middle of your stance. For the driver, you want it more off your lead heel. Number 2 is you got to get your weight shift. You got to get your weight shift. We talk a lot about that. Dancing with the golf club, moving with the golf club, having some rhythm and some flow. Okay, how can I get proper weight shift? Well, I can just do little step drills. Boom, little step. Feel my weight going forward. That's good for my irons. It's also good for my driver. And then third is lead arm direction. You know that our philosophy is we like to see the lead arm work more back and up, and we like to see that big hip turn. Okay, matter of fact, I just posted that on social media here last night, a picture of the great Sam Snead. Okay, Instagram and Twitter, you can find us there, right? Nice big turn, and it's the turning of the hips with that lead arm high that can lead to great contact. All right, hey, that's enough of that. Look at this, Nick. We've got people, look at this, fantastic. 35 years and still learning, love it. 72-year-olds, Jeff, good for you, my friend. Okay, 70 years old, David, we appreciate you. All right, let's get into some questions. Let's answer some of your questions. This is the fun part about the live sessions, is we're going to get to what you got us, what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, so I got two questions kind of in the same direction, both dealing with bad backs. Is there any setup changes or ball position changes you would do if you had, say, a bad back for this?
Okay, this is fantastic. I don't know who asked this question.
Jeffrey and Vernon.
Jeffrey, okay, thank you. So the question is, thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you, Vernon, for asking this question, because Nick and I and the team are really passionate about our experienced golfers and helping out. So the basic question is my back hurts. I love golf, but when I play golf, my back hurts. Can you help me? You're dang right, we can help you. Now, let me preface this, number one, by saying I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, nor is Nick. We don't give any medical advice. We give golf advice. And here's what I have found in my experience is that generally speaking, more movement is better. So what do I mean by that? Well, number one is take your toes and flare them out. When I take my toes and I flare them out, see how my toes are flared? My heels are close and my toes are wide. This frees my hips up to turn. I think movement is good versus, see this? Like this would not be good. That kind of locks me in. So the first thing I would say is get your toes out. All right? That'll help you pivot and help you move better. Number two is I would say make sure that your trail leg, for me, it's my right leg. Make sure that as you start your backswing, that your trail leg releases. See how it releases? It doesn't necessarily straighten, although it gets pretty close to straight. But see how it releases? All right? And I'm going to give you a telltale sign, a little secret here from my golf instruction that I always look at, that I think a lot of great coaches look for. But by releasing the trail leg, that allows your hips to turn more. As your hips can turn more, your shoulders can turn more, and you can get some length to your swing. So in a nutshell, I believe that more movement will take less pressure or less strain on your back, in essence. It's when we restrict movement in certain areas and then try to move in other areas. For example, when I restrict my hips, but I try to turn my shoulders, I believe that puts pressure in areas you don't want to. So point the toes, turn the hips, release the trail leg a little bit. Now, I promised you a little telltale sign, then we're going to get into the next question. When I look at a golf swing and I get it to the top, I'm looking at a lot of things. But two things that I'm looking at for sure, and this is worth writing down, this little golden nugget right here. Two things you want to look for in your golf swing at the top position. Number one is you want to see your lead arm a little bit above your shoulder. See that? See how my lead arm is just a little bit above my shoulders? This would be below my shoulders. This would be above. I want to see your lead arm a little bit above your shoulders. And number two is I want to see some spacing between the knees. See that? Versus no space, bad. That's good. Those would be two definitely things that I would look for in the vertical line swing system at VLS. All right, what else we got, Nick? Let's get into a couple more questions. Look at these fantastic questions that we're getting from this group.
So John says he hits his driver fine, but irons low. How do we get more height with our irons?
Okay, so the question is I hit my driver pretty good, but my irons are really low. Look at this. We got people from Australia joining in. We love our people. Nick, we got to do something in Australia sometime. Hey, for our friends from Australia, what's the best time of the year to come? Help a couple of just regular Midwestern guys out. We're not world travelers. We love golf, but we got to do something in Australia. When should we come over there? And put that in the chat if you wouldn't mind. So the question is, geez, I hit my driver pretty good. My irons are really low. Okay, so here's what I'm looking at. If the irons are low, and assuming you've got good solid contact, okay. Now, if you're topping it, that's different. If you're topping it, like it's low, meaning I'm not hitting it well, okay, then I'm looking at weight. Your weight's probably on your back foot. Remember how the bottom of your swing, okay, the bottom of your swing follows the movement of the weight on your feet. So if you're topping your irons, you could be having your weight back. If you're hitting your irons solid, but they're low, if you're hitting your irons solid, but they're low, here's what I want you to look at. Let me grab a different club here. All right, I got my 2-iron. For those of you who were here last week, you know we keep the 2-iron here just for show because, I don't know, we used to be able to hit 2 irons, and now we just have it around because it makes us feel, reminds us of those younger days. Remember? We could hit those clubs that we can't hit anymore. Anyhow, okay. So here's what I would look for. When you take the club back, make sure that the club face is not getting too closed or too shut. See that? See that right there? That would be shut. That would be bad. This would be open. That would not be good either. But you want it about somewhere in between. We did some stuff on this. I think, was it Nick last week or the week before we talked about the takeaway a lot?
Yeah, one of the two. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think last week we talked about the 3 problems, the 3 mistakes you make in your backswing. So go back and review that. But basically what you want to see is that the leading edge right there, this leading edge right here, is at about a 45-degree angle. Now, if you're hitting the ball solid but they're too low, you could have the face just a little bit shut. So get it right there. All right, hopefully that answers that question. Nick, what else we got on there?
Going back to the back swing here, Vernon asks, how do I practice the motion of swinging the club straight back and up? I'm terrible at being consistent with the concept.
Okay, so the question is one of the cornerstones of the vertical line swing system, the bad lie, all the stuff that everybody here is familiar with, is how do I get my lead arm working in a good direction? Because it's literally probably the most important thing. Now, last week I asked this question. We can describe the golf swing in 8 words. We can describe the golf swing in 8 words. If you know what that is, put it in the chat. We'll get a hold of you. We'll give you something for free. 8 words. All right. And I'm going to give you the answer to that here in a little bit if you don't know. But if you know it, describe the golf swing in 8 words. Put it in the chat, and Nick will keep an eye on it. We'll give something away for free for the person who does it correctly first. So back to the question, though. How do I get that lead arm working correctly? Well, a couple things you can do. Most golfers tend to work too low and around. So you could do a couple things. One is you could just get set in there, and you could just simply lift your arm up like this. See that? You know we love our 3-setter, so I do a little 3-set. Okay, I got the feel, and then I'd go ahead and take it back and up. Now, just movement this way. Now, notice as I do this, I'm not standing my body up. I'm staying in my posture, and I'm just isolating the movement of the arm. The arm is working up. So that's how I would practice that. If you were with me and we were having a lesson and you were swinging it low around, I say, hey, get set in. Just take your lead hand only and just lift the club up. Do a little 1, little 2, little 3-setter. Okay, you got the feel. Now add some turn and lift, and then just repeat that motion with your arm, and that will help you get it. That will help you get it up and in there. All right, Nick, what else we got? Okay, look at this. All right, we nailed it. Arms take it up, body takes it around. So we're giving that away because that's close enough. So in a nutshell, if you remembered one thing from us, and we simplify the golf swing. We want to make the golf swing simple. We want to make it's not easy. We know it's not easy. That's why we love it, right? But we can simplify it. And in a nutshell, folks, the golf swing is this. The arms take it up. The body takes it around. Arms take it up. Body takes it around. Let me show what I mean. Arms take it up. Body takes it around. How's that position look? Looks pretty good to me, right? If I just have my arms go up and my body goes around, that's a pretty darn good position. So if you're ever lost in the golf swing and you're really struggling and you don't know what to do, arms take it up. Body takes it around. That in a nutshell is the golf swing. All right, Nick, what else we got? What else we got there?
Ruben asked, I'm going to reread it the way he said so I make sure I say it right. How do I keep my angle without throwing away or flipping before contact?
Okay, so let's talk about that, and then we got to make sure our person who got something free, they know how to get a hold of you, Nick. If you want to put an email in there or whatever, they'll get a hold of you. All right, so the question is how do I keep from standing up in the golf swing? So basically, if I'm understanding the question correctly here, what we're saying is that as we come into impact, Okay, we're in a good spot. But as they come into impact, we're standing up and coming out of posture. That's what I'm thinking you're asking. So a couple of things. Number one is that if you're coming up and out of posture at impact, it's probably because something before impact is incorrect. All right. Impact is obviously, some would argue, the most important position in the golf swing because it's the point of contact. Pretty hard to debate that, I guess. But what we do before that dictates impact. So your setup dictates your backswing. Your backswing dictates your downswing, and your downswing dictates your impact position. So there's multiple things that can happen before we get to impact. So what could that be? Well, typically when people stand up, it's because they're afraid the club's going to hit the ground too quickly. So I would never have a great perfect swing and everything working correctly and then just stand up. But if I had a sense innately or subconsciously that the club was going to hit the ground, I don't like that. So then I stand up to try to get the club to hit the ground in the right spot. So I would go back to the things that we talked about today. Okay, and the first place that I would look would be weight shift. Make sure you're getting your weight forward, because if your weight's staying on your back foot, the club's going to hit back here. You're not going to like that, so then we start standing up. So this is a great question. Typically when people come out of posture, it is because something was wrong in the backswing and the downswing. I'd go back to that ball position. I'd go back to that weight shift. And I'd go back to that lead arm direction. My guess is you're going to find your answer there. All right. Hey, Nick, let's get in a couple more questions. And also, while we're doing this, if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, hopefully you've already subscribed to our YouTube channel. We just launched a video a couple days ago that's going crazy right now. 5 keys, right, Nick? Or 5 keys to yeah, 5 keys for the driver for senior golfers. It's going crazy. Hey, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's going crazy right now. That's been a lot of fun. But be sure to subscribe to the channel. And also, if you could do me a favor, do you like these? Do you find these live sessions beneficial? Are you enjoying them? Because if you are, we'll do more of them. We'll do more of them. This is the thing that Nick and I enjoy the most, is interacting with you. So don't be afraid to put them in there. Would you like to see it once a week, twice a week, once a month? We're looking for some feedback, some input. All right, Nick, what else we got for some questions here?
We have, Keith says, can you swing an iron and maintain your weight forward on your lead foot?
Okay, so Keith?
Yes.
Okay, Keith, thanks for that answer. Keith, where are you from? Put it in the chat, my friend. Where are you from? I appreciate that question. So the question that Keith is asking, and we want to know where Keith is from, is can I make an iron swing and keep my weight on my lead foot? Well, the answer to that is yes, you can. And there's a great coaching system out there called the stack and tilt. These guys are smart guys. You've probably heard of it. They've really helped us as instructors. They brought a lot of stuff forward that I know I've learned and has helped me. And there are some people who like on their irons to keep their weight more forward on the backswing and then through the strike. Now, the only thing I would say to that is it does require some flexibility and some more rotation. And I believe it does require some strength because you got to kind of stand up to create some club head speed. But it is a viable option for the irons as long as you can make the physical movements to make it happen. And I think that can be difficult as we get older and become experienced golfers. So I would say there's some validity. Now, on the driver, I don't really like that because one of the power sources, we're going to talk about this next week on Tuesday, same time, same place, right? That movement of shifting of weight from side to side can really be helpful, okay? And so in a nutshell, yes, you can do it with the irons, but make sure you have some flexibility and some strength to pull it off. Number 2 is I'm not a big fan of it with the driver. All right, hey, Nick, let's get into one more question. Let's get one more question, and then we'll do some wrap up here.
You bet. We'll go to David, who says he loves the live sessions.
Okay, thank you, David. I appreciate that, my friend.
He says, how do you approach a chipper on the green that's lying down in an indentation?
Okay, all right. So let's talk about chipping. Yeah, this is fantastic. Like I said earlier, we did the bad lie last year. This year we're doing another book. We haven't come up with a name for it yet, but we're going deep into the short game and we're simplifying it for people. So the question is how do I hit a chip shot when the ball's in a hole or a bad lie? So here's a golden nugget for you. You can write this one down because this applies across the board. when it comes to short game shots. When you look at a lie, thick grass, no grass, in a hole, hard pan, wet, it doesn't matter. When you look at a lie and you're like, yeah, I don't really like that lie, you always move the ball slightly back in the stance. Okay, so anytime you look at a lie and you're not real happy with it, you always move the ball back in the stance. Now, you know this if you followed any of our stuff, that we're a big believer in chipping, which is a little bit different than some people might teach you. And this is quite honestly what put Nick and I on the map, is when we did this chipping video, over 4 million views, about some of the common mistakes that people make in chipping. And one of the mistakes that a lot of people make, okay, is proper ball position. So on a normal lie, when you got a good lie, we like to see the ball in the middle of the heels. Okay, so the ball's in the middle of my heels. Now, when you have that bad lie that you referenced, you want to move the ball slightly back in your stance, so it's more off your back heel. That will help with kind of contact, meaning you're going to hit the ball and then the ground first. So the first thing I would talk about is ball position, move it back in the stance. The next thing that I would focus on, okay, would be shaft position, angle of shaft. So I'm going to switch now so you can look at it from what we call a down the line view here. Okay, and what we're going to do with this one is we're going to take the club shaft. Okay, watch the club shaft here, normal setup position. Okay, bad lie, don't like it. I'm moving the ball back. And then I'm going to take the club shaft and I'm going to raise it up a little bit this way. See that? I'm going to raise it up. So normal, bad lie or lie I don't like. Now, why is that important? Well, when I raise the shaft up this way, it promotes almost more of like a putting motion. Think of it like a putting motion, okay? And when we make more of a putting motion, all right, the club head swings on a little bit different angle, different lie, okay, and can help contact. So when the ball's in a hole, the key is contact. So we navigate that by moving the ball back in the stance, okay, and by moving the club shaft up just a little bit. Those couple things will help out. Nick, let's do this. We got to give him one more question. Come on. All right, one more question. Let's give him one more here.
All right. So Andrew says, I'm a lefty, and from time to time will have the ball fly way left of my club, off my club. I try to change position and grip on the club. How can I fix this?
Okay, so the question is, as a left-hander, lefty, sometimes the ball flies way left. Now the question there would be, is it a solid shot that's just really high, or is it like a shank? Okay, I hate that word, but sometimes we can hit those shots. All right, so I would say this. Number one is I would look at, okay, there we go. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. Thank you, my friend, for throwing that in there, because you're not the only person who struggles with the shot. Now, we've done a couple really good videos on that shot. So here's typically where I see that, okay? It typically happens from the takeaway. So I'm going to demonstrate it as a right-handed golfer, all right? And this is good for everybody. Now, we talked about this last week. This is one of the beauties of our live sessions, is that we kind of walk you through the stages of the golf swing. You know, a couple weeks ago, we talked about setup, and then we talked about the takeaway, and today we're talking about contact. And as Nick and I go through this, and as you join in, whether hopefully you're here live, okay, like our friends from Australia and South Africa and New Mexico and all these places, or you're just watching it on a replay, but we're walking you through the golf swing. We're educating you so you can help yourself. Now, back to Andrew's question, all right? We talked about this last week, okay? But in the takeaway, all right, there's a relationship between the club head and the handle. Club head and handle. Now, when we take the club away, we want the club head to stay on that side of the alignment rod. See how the club head is on that side of the alignment rod, but the handle is on the inside. So let me do that again. Nick's zooming in there. We're putting Nick to work today. The club head is staying on the ball side of the alignment rod, and the handle staying on the body side. Okay. Now, if you're tending to shank it, odds are that you're reversing those. The club head is going inside towards the body, and the handle is going towards the ball. Okay? And when you do that, okay, that starts to expose the inside of the club or the heel versus this way. All right. So if you're shanking it, that would be the first place that I would look, Andrew, is look at that takeaway. And if that's correct, all right, come back next week and ask that same question. We'll dive deeper into it. We'll go into it again. Now, Nick, let's throw in that. Let's throw that the lost chapter link in there again, if you wouldn't mind. We're going to throw that in there because we want to make sure and give you something. We appreciate everybody coming over and spending time with us. I hope you're liking these live sessions. We're going to be doing more of them. We're doing at least one a week, but if you think we should do more or less or whatever, be sure to let us know. Nick's throwing that in there right there. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Join us. Check us out at VLS Golf, social media, all the different places. Appreciate you coming in. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Now, remember, next week, we're talking about the 3 secrets to the power. 3 ways that you can increase your club head speed that don't require hours in the gym, that can help you hit the golf ball a lot further. So, hey, appreciate you coming in, and we will see you next week. Until then, remember, you don't have to swing like a tour pro to play great golf.